Hello, my beautiful friend Hilary. I'm so excited you're on the podcast today. Welcome.
I know it's been so great to meet you and know you and interview on my show, and now I'm here, so it's just great.
It is so great. I met you back, just for everybody some context, back in February of this year at a mastermind. And, I'm just my crazy, weird, in your face self. And you had to learn to love me very quickly.
There's nothing to do but love you. And if you had said that was a year ago, I wouldn't have been surprised. It feels like so much has happened since then.
Crazy. Time just flies.
Yeah.
So, one of the incredible giftings that you bring to the table is you are just a financial powerhouse. You are an absolute expert. And I mean, you can talk about anything from these beginner finance topics, and you go so advanced and so far forward into financial, just wealth of knowledge, wealth building, and financial planning, and all of these incredible things. Tell us a little bit about who you are, Hilary, so that my audience can get to know you. And then I'd love if you'd kind of start with your own money story for us.
I would love to do that because it really is what allows me to be here. So thank you. So I'm Hilary Hendershott. I'm the owner and founder of Hendershott Wealth Management. We're a wealth management firm. When we started, it was all about serving women. At this point, 40% of our clients are men. But we do that with these really feminine based principles, compassion, empathy, a lot of really just humility and sitting shoulder to shoulder with our clients. And this is not going to be a sermon from the mount because got humbled financially. So I'm at this point 25 years into my career. About 8 years into my career, I found myself advising millionaires and multimillionaires during the day how to grow investment portfolios. I have my degrees and my professional certification, and I'm coming home at night to a stack of bills that I won't open because I can't pay them. I was a massive overspender, had been from the first time I got a paycheck. I'm earning about $100,000 a year, spending 120,
Yeah.
right? And so you do that for a couple of years and you dig yourself into a pretty big mess. So at my financial worst, I had about $150,000 of combined student loan, credit card, and auto debt. Here I am driving a gorgeous BMW convertible, can't afford to put gas in the tank, right?
Right.
I have $420,000 in mortgage debt on a condo that in 2008 fell to $190,000 of appraised value,
Wow.
right? So I really got myself to the end of the financial line. And I remember the moment when I realized, I had been having financial emergencies. My parents had to dig me out. One time my boyfriend wrote me a check for $1,500
Yeah.
and I needed the money, but I felt like the worst kind of failure. I was so ashamed and so regretful. And I had this moment, I could see into the future, Steph,
Yeah.
and I could see it was filled only with more and different versions of this same kind of mess. And I thought, I can't let this happen. Whatever it takes, I have to turn this around. And I thought to myself, what the heck is the difference between me and the people I see next to me,
Hmm.
people I went to college with, got my certifications with? We all intend to have financial health, yet I'm failing and they're winning. And I
Hmm.
thought, okay, so it comes from behavior. Behavior comes from psychology. Well, I have a degree in economics. I'm a certified financial planner. Nobody ever talked to me about money psychology,
Hmm.
right? So I became a student of behavioral finance, again, money psychology, neuropsychologist, which just said in short, study the impact of the words that we use, which of course come from our beliefs, about things that are conceptual in life, such
Yeah.
as time. Time is super conceptual. Also, money. It just so turns out that the words we use, which come from our childhood beliefs about money, are very impactful. So I figured out the hole in my financial bucket. First of all, when I grew up, for me, it was real. There was never enough money. Now,
Hmm.
come to find out later, my mom was just a great saver, right? She was just a fiscally very conservative, living on an average income. She did a great job for herself, but I couldn't have my brand name stuff. I couldn't have the stuff I wanted. So for me, there's
Right.
never enough money. Then at
Hmm.
some point, I also picked up, oh, if people think I'm financially successful, they'll like me. Like I can buy people's approval. So I really had it twisted, the emblems of wealth confused with the reality of wealth, right? And I'm playing this super destructive game just throwing good money after bad, like trying to buy people's approval. Meanwhile, my bank accounts are empty, and my FICO score, by the way, that was in the 400s.
Wow.
So, so
Ooh.
it was slow in the, it was brutal. It was brutal. And hopefully my rock bottom is way lower than anyone else who's listening to this has to go. And my unraveling that, I mean, I just got completely financially transparent. I just said, whatever is my natural inclination to do with money, I'm going to do the opposite. Right. And I told everyone exactly what was so for several years. I mean, just between you and me, and this was many years ago, so take inflation into account when you hear this number, but I lived on an $8 a day food budget. I
Wow.
did not buy coffee in a coffee shop for 2 years. Okay.
Wow, Hilary.
And money compounds on itself. So after a few years of that and really doing the right things day after day after day, I look at my bank accounts and I go, whoa, I've really made a dent. I've paid off the debt. I've rebuilt my retirement savings. I'm on my way to a down payment for a home. And I thought to myself, bigger than me, bigger than fixing this problem I have figured something out that can be of value for people. And so it really is that I say I'm a graduate of the money school of hard knocks.
Yes.
That really gives me that compassion, understanding, no matter where you are financially. I either have been there myself or know someone who has. And I know for myself that it takes almost an equal attention to the money mindset piece of life as it does to the money tactics. And so I have the textbook, the sort of professional education in the tactics stuff, but also the real world experience in the other. And at this point, and I just share this so people know my transformation is real. I own a home in California. I own a home in Puerto Rico. From a financial like account balances perspective, I could retire. I could stop working right now. I work because I want to, not because I have to. And so there's a saying we say to people who come work with us, no matter how money has gone for you in the past, you can have an abundance of it in your future. And I am definitely living proof that that's true. So it really gives me a calling, a purpose on the planet, because so many people struggle with money. So my intention is to shorten your learning curve.
I'm so here for this. And I think it's interesting that you shared this story in this visualization of like, we so often walk through, when we go through the trials and the hard things in life, those are often such clues as to what our calling work is and to what the thing is that God's going to have us be working on in our future, right? Which you had to go through the whole breakdown of the financial, like literally every piece of that thing torn apart, for you to now look where you
I
sit.
nuclear bombed it, friend.
Yeah, like I nuclear bombed in business a few times because I had to understand, I think, the psychology around how do I help someone else build a business, and that's similarly for you in the financial space. So good. So what do you do for people now, Hilary? What does this look like when you meet with a client and you're doing services for them?
Yeah, we have two things that we do. The first is traditional comprehensive fiduciary wealth management. So it's what you probably think it is. We manage people's money on their behalf. We wrap around that consultative services, including advice on what insurances to buy, what kinds of accounts to save in, how much to save. Like we help people with budgeting. We talk about their income taxes. So we actually, with the software that's available now, can do tax estimates for people. We don't prepare tax returns, but we're, especially in today's world, taxes are a big chunk out of people's bank accounts. So we make sure you're not paying penalties, you're paying your estimated quarterlies correctly. So that's wealth management. And that's kind of, once you've extracted money from your business accounts, paid the tax on it, and put it in your personal accounts, that's when it's time to really grow your nest egg or your personal net worth. So that's wealth management. And for those of you who have heard the terms fiduciary or fee only, we are both of those, meaning I only sell my advice. I don't sell any products. And that's important because you want to know that the advice your financial advisor is giving you lines your pocket and not hers.
Yes.
And then we also have this sort of fractional chief financial officer offer for business owners. So we are profit first certified professionals. I have a team of 4 certified financial planners and profit first certified professionals. And it's a year-long container where we but we engage neuroplasticity to change your money mind at the same time as teaching you everything you need to know, but not everything we know
Yeah,
about how to manage money. Like, you just need to know how to navigate the forks in the road. Ultimately, you're in business because you're great at doing what you're great at. You don't need a textbook, or you could go
sure.
take the CFP program, right? And then we have a kind of a low cost money coaching offer, just live money coaching to talk through these things if that's the appropriate offer for you.
So amazing. I love that. So my listeners, they come often with the heart to start a new business, or they're new in their business, right, Hilary? They have started the podcast, or they're going to start the podcast. And then I teach how to utilize coaching or building an online course as the way that we monetize the show.
Yeah.
And what I find that they're most confused around when it comes to money is like all the financial basics. So
Yes.
I kind of want to pick your brain today on financial basics for my audience. And I know that you're going to be able to just provide so much peace and clarity, because it's actually not as hard as maybe we make it, or maybe that it seems when we're getting started. So I would just love to like spitfire these questions at you,
Yeah.
and you can help us really understand the basics. So the first question is, what are some things that someone might need to put in place before they start their business?
Okay.
And to tack onto that, does it matter if you're profitable versus not? Because I hear people say like, well, I don't need to set up whatever until I'm actually making money. Kind of curious around the when as well.
Yeah. And that question, does it come from, I don't need to set up an LLC or an S Corp or something like that?
Right.
Okay.
Mhm. Or
Okay.
yeah.
So, yeah. So in the beginning, uh, I would recommend so you definitely need separate bank accounts. Okay.
Yes.
You have your business bank account, your personal bank account. I personally have my personal accounts at Citibank, my business accounts at Chase. I keep trying to get away from Chase. I was with WAMU when they got bought by Chase. Then I was with First Republic when they failed early this year and they got bought
Yeah.
by Chase. So I said, obviously, I'm supposed to be a
Must be
client
the
of
chase.
Chase Bank. Yeah. The big banks, they have their downsides, but what we want is a very workable, intuitive interface so you can log into your portal and a very functional mobile app. You're on the go. You want to be able to see how much money you have. You
Yes.
want this firewall in between your business money and your personal money, because how you spend money over the course of the year is going to make it so simple and easy to do your taxes and your bookkeeping at the end of the year. You don't want to have those accounts together because then you have to manually separate all those transactions. As you know, anything you spend on your business is fundamentally a tax deduction, meaning you just take that amount off your top line revenue when you go to Uncle Sam and say how much money you've made, and then you don't have to pay tax on that. So it's the equivalent of saving 25 to 30% on every transaction.
Mhm.
Um, I have, this is my cell phone. In
Okay.
this little wallet, I have my ID,
Yep.
a personal credit card, and a business credit card. That's it. That's all I carry.
Me too.
Uh, I, for many years, did not allow myself to have credit cards, but now I have requalified to carry. I
Woo!
am. I have proved I can pay my bills at the end of the month. So as long as you can count on yourself to pay your credit cards off at the end of the month, you should definitely use credit cards to earn points.
Yep.
So, so you have your business bank account, your business credit card. Now, that business credit card, unless you own a large warehouse that has a lot of manufacturing equipment in it or something, it's going to be in your personal name. So, what I'm saying, business card versus personal card, it's an artificial barrier. You're
Yeah. Right.
not going to get credit in your business's name. Even at my business's level, 7 figures and more, they don't offer credit to businesses. Why? Because business isn't an entity. A business has no ability to pay bills without a human being to pay those bills. Okay, so just granting that it's an artificial breakdown. But the purpose of having two different banks is just to reinforce that wall in between the two accounts. As soon as you can, it would be great for you to set I'm going to get back to your question about entities too. It
Okay.
would be great to set yourself up on payroll, but probably for the first 12, maybe 24 months, you're not on payroll. The purpose of putting yourself on payroll is eventually Uncle Sam or the IRS is going to want to see that you are on payroll because they want you paying those employment taxes. But you're probably not going to get audited, like I said, in your first 12 to 24 months. So when you go into your business bank account and transfer money to your personal account, that's you paying yourself as the owner of the business. You're going to owe income taxes on that amount.
Mhm.
And you just want to be cautious, careful, and conservative about when and how much you do that, because too often people are then just putting personal monies back into their business accounts. If the business account dwindles, the bank account balance gets low, I'm not feeling comfortable, I didn't accurately predict when revenues are going to come in, right? And it's happened to me a handful of times over 14 years in business, 15 years in business. You just want it to be kind of a big deal, more than just, oh, I'm just moving money from this account to this account in the same portal, right? So there's a
Yes.
little bit of static there. Okay.
Good.
Now, does it matter if you're profitable? No, because you're not going to know till the end of the year if you're profitable.
Mhm.
Um, I do know that there's lots of, I did a podcast interview the other day on my show with a woman. We were talking about Instagram financial advice.
Uh-huh.
It's almost always bunk. I see these, 30-second reels or something, and it's always like an eye roll. Like, really, that's the hill you're gonna die on, huh?
Yes.
So the idea of being an S Corp or a
Mhm.
C Corp, this is really something to be in consultation with your tax planner about. It does have to do with the construction of your business. You're probably, just my experience is you're probably going to be an S Corp, but again, that's a tax thing.
Yes.
Then this whole LLC thing,
Yep.
LLC is a limited liability company, and that's a legal protection. So S Corp, C Corp, that's tax. LLC, and you're not going to be an LLP. That's only for accountants and lawyers. LLC is legal. And the reason you would have an LLC, and I do have an LLC, is if you're kind of in a litigious business. So finances, cybersecurity, childcare, right? These kinds of things. From what I know about your practice, I'm thinking the businesses you help folks start probably aren't that. For the
Yeah.
most part, your clients are unlikely to get sued.
Yes. Now, some of them have health related or what is it called? Like a counseling related, where they would be, I'm going to counsel
Okay.
these couples. So those they would consider. And even for
And
me, I
that,
got an LLC because I was like, why not?
yeah,
And then because it's not expensive, or at least where
no,
I
no.
live, it wasn't expensive to have that legal protection. And explain, Hillary, I know we're not lawyers, but we know the basics. Like, why does an LLC protect someone's assets in their business versus in their personal life? How does that work?
It is sort of like a cloak of protection around your business. It separates the business legally from you as a human being. So, in the same way, if you're a parent, you may have written up a trust document
Hmm.
and then titled your house to that trust. Well, now, should you default on a $100,000 credit card, your creditors can't come after your house. In
Right.
the same way, if your business gets sued, so the way my business is right now, if I were to get sued, the the attachable assets are the assets, bank account balance, and future income of the business only, not
Yes.
me and my husband.
Right.
So my personal assets are protected. Now, it's not universal, it's not 100%. So there's a
Hmm.
thing called piercing the corporate veil. That's way beyond the scope of this conversation. All I'm saying is it's not bulletproof, but it's
Yeah.
good. And you're
Right.
right, it's not expensive. The thing I want to encourage people though is I see people not selling, not doing business, not starting a business out of confusion. And
Mm.
I'm always want to say, look, your business is the income earned by the business. So thinking about not starting a business because you don't know if you need an LLC or an S corp is really silliness. So
Yes.
go do your business. At
Yep.
the end of the year, you can consult with your tax person. You
Yes.
could, like, you just went and did an LLC proactively. You can always do that over in the course of your
Yes.
business.
Later.
It's not a reason to not go earn money.
Exactly. I was earning lots of money before we did the LLC, and then lots and lots more money before we became an S Corp and kept that LLC protection as well. So there's layers and levels to this. But what we're saying is get started and
Get
you can
started. Go make some money.
go make some money and then you can add these things on. I love that you made it, you I didn't know this, I guess, that the LLC is the legal side, but then the S Corp, C Corp is the tax thing. I've always kind of thought of them all as like this tax thing. So that's nice to
Yep.
differentiate that in my mind. And then we're going to set up split bank accounts, and we're going to have those split credit cards as long as we can pay them off every single month, maybe at different banks to create the firewall. Love that. Let's talk about, you touched on payroll for a minute as this beginner conversation here. So let's say somebody's, got started and they've got their first 5 coaching clients, right, Hilary? And they're pulling in $1,000 a month into their new business, and they're putting it. When we talk about paying ourselves, this gets very confusing for people because they think like, well, I made this $1,000 a month. So what do you mean when you say pay myself from the 1,000? Can you kind of go into that and maybe like what that threshold would look like where you'd think it'd be worth it to pull that money from the business account and start paying yourself?
That's a good question. I would say, okay, so first of all, money earned by your business is still in your business account. That's not your money. Now, can you go spend that money on a tank of gas if you're traveling around town to do business? Yes, that would be a business expense. Can you pay your office rent from that account? Absolutely, yes, that's a business expense. Once you've paid your overhead, money you then put in your personal account, which is what you would go to use to buy your groceries, your kids' shoes, pay school tuition, right? Those are not business expenses for you. So those are not deductible. You have to pay yourself into your personal account in order to do that. So the way to do that right, just circling back to the separate accounts conversation, don't pay your kids' school tuition from your business account. First, move it to your personal account, right? So you can pay your business expenses first or your overhead. Then what's left over, you have the right to move to your personal account. You are going to owe income tax on that amount. I would say the right time to start thinking about payroll is when you bring in employees. Now, some of you are terrified of having employees or just don't need them. You want to go 1099 with contractors and vendors for a long time. That can be fine as well. That gets into very subjective conversations, right? About what works best for your business. But at some point, I'm just going to make it up. If your business has $250,000 a year in revenue and you're not on payroll, you might be flagging yourself for an audit. Okay. So, what payroll does is it forces you to pay what are called payroll taxes. So, that's just employer employee taxes that you owe the government. Every time money changes hands, the IRS taxes it. That's the way government works: sales tax, income tax, gift tax, like that.
All the tax.
All the tax. It's just after the tax extension
Oh,
deadline today. So I got my bill today.
oh yeah.
Yes, proud to say I can pay it.
Woo!
Unlike many years in the past.
Yep.
So I would say, and the other thing payroll does is it allows you to maximize your deferrals into a 401k. As soon as you have employees, you can start a 401k. It is kind of expensive, and we're jumping the gun a little bit because there's other startup accounts I would recommend before that. But at some point, if you have a legit business, I mean, if you're making $1,000 a month and you're happy with that and that works for your household, you may never have to go on payroll. I
Mhm.
mean, that may always be a 1099 low overhead type of situation. And if it adds to your family finances in a meaningful way, keep it simple.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. I know I didn't start moving into until I became an S Corp, we were at probably close to $500,000 company at that point. Did I become an employee? And then I moved one of my contractors into being an employee and really started to understand this world that Hilary is talking about. And
Yeah.
so keeping it simple is the best way to get started, right? It was great to go, let me cross a bridge now that I've come up to it, instead of let me panic and try to figure out 100 things when I'm
I
not quite there
wholeheartedly
yet.
agree with you. Yeah. Number one thing in business, rising tide rises all boats. You got a business problem, make more money, you can solve it.
Right? That's right. So then
Go
you can
sell
hire
some
your
stuff,
team.
babe.
Yeah, go sell some stuff, babe. So speaking of that, let's talk about, because I think so many of these questions are answered from having somebody help you with your taxes, or having somebody help you with finances, getting a bookkeeper. When would you recommend, Hilary, like doing your own stuff and trying to fumble your way forward versus like hiring some people to help you And at what levels do you think that those hires should take place?
So, and this isn't from a financial perspective, but I always had a business coach. I
Mhm.
just, so someone like you to guide us in terms of strategy. Uh, I, interestingly, I'm a certified financial planner. I've never done my own books. So I had someone with me when I went out on my own who just opened up a QuickBooks file for me.
Right.
But my answer to when to diversify, or excuse me, when to delegate is the word I'm looking for, is the minute you don't have time to do the selling things that are making you money.
There
So
you
in
go.
the beginning, maybe you're wearing all the hats. I mean, a QuickBooks can't be that hard to figure out with, 10 transactions a week or something,
Right.
right? Um, and you're probably not going to set your books up right. But you know what? It's not that hard for a professional to go back and fix it a year later or whatever, even 2 years later. But again, you want to know exactly how many selling activities you want to be doing during the week. And as soon as that gets interrupted or invaded upon, definitely be delegating and outsourcing.
Yes.
Bookkeepers are not expensive, and that goes hand in hand with tax prep. I do think if you have a wage income and you own a home, you might be able to use TurboTax just fine. But the
Mhm.
minute you have a business,
Mhm.
a good tax prep person is worth their weight. Well, I'll say maybe worth their weight in silver. A good tax
Yes.
strategy person is worth
Uh,
their weight in gold.
yes.
So tax prep is backward looking, tax strategy is forward looking. The most frequent complaint I hear is my tax guy never tells me what to do next year. That
Yes.
those are two different services.
Okay.
So I'm preparing your taxes. I'm looking at calendar year 2022.
Right.
If I'm giving you tax strategy, I'm looking at your life. I'm looking at how you run your business. I'm looking at your family, right? So like some people, you might be able to hire your kids as models and pay them
Right.
from the business, right? But that's something I need to do consultative work to figure out.
Yeah.
So good tax strategists are becoming more rare. I think the narrative is that AI is going to take over what they do. And so I'm seeing fewer and fewer good young people come into the profession. So we're holding on to our tax strategy people like white knuckled.
Yes.
So if you have a good one, hang on to them and pay them well.
And if not, come and hire Hillary's team.
No, I don't do it. I don't do it.
Oh, you don't do tax strategy.
Well, according to the government, I'm not allowed to.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Now, what happens behind closed doors? I definitely have conversations with people, but not
Sure.
officially. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. And I do think sometimes you don't know what you don't know. Like you'll go and hire a CPA or somebody to do your taxes and they'll seem fine. And then, starting to think about like, are they helping you with these forward thinking things? And just even asking those questions can help you figure out, is this the right person who might have a little bit of that strategy brain in there? Like, what do you think for next year? And if I'm projecting this amount of money, what should I be paying myself next year? They should have answers to these questions. If they don't, and they're going, here's your return, thank you, goodbye, you might want to shop around a little bit and see if you can find somebody
Yeah.
that's able to answer that stuff for you.
And it's that what you want to ask them is, will you offer me tax strategy or tax planning? And
Mhm.
they may ask you, and righteously so, to pay additional for that. It's like a
Yes,
separate engagement, right? So the
exactly.
tax return costs X, tax strategy costs X plus Y. And that's
Exactly.
legit. That's
It's
legit.
legit. And at one point I was able to, because we were making money in the business and I was able to sell the things, go and get like a package deal where it had the bookkeeping and the tax planning and the strategy and the filing, and I pay a monthly fee. And so that's something you guys can grow into as, but make the sales. And then these are things that they can help you with, right? So
Right.
good. Okay, so the next question, Hillary, is how can you maximize, the tax benefits of owning a business?
So this is not, it's not easy to wrap your arms around, but the biggest tax deduction Congress gives us is probably the mortgage interest deduction. So if you could own a business, which is completely ancillary to this, excuse me, if you can own a house with a
Uh-huh.
mortgage,
Yep.
I know, and I do apologize, interest rates have gone up. It was much easier to have this conversation when they were 3%, but that's
Uh-huh.
a great tax deduction. The
Okay.
next biggest tax deduction is the 401k. There's other versions of the 401k. There's the SEP, or SEP, it stands for Simplified Employee Pension. The simple is a low cost, but also lower tax deduction version of the 401k. But as soon as I could, I set up a full 401k with matching for my employees. This allows me to deduct, well, in 3 years, I'll be able to deduct $30,000 a year plus my safe harbor match, which
Mm,
is, I think, another additional $5,000 a year right off the top of my income. And I'm taking money away from Uncle Sam and I'm giving it to myself. So I
yeah.
get to keep that money, that tax savings, until I turn 59 and a half and I start paying myself and then I owe it back to him. But I get to earn compound returns, which
Yes.
grow like 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 2 is 6. That's not compound. 2 plus 2 is 4, and then +4 is 8, +8 is 16, +16 is 32. These numbers grow fast. And that really is the benefit of saving in a 401k plan. Again, a SEP is going to look, those compound returns are going to look the same. But
Yes.
it's those two things that Congress does for us that if you can take advantage of them, you really are doing yourself a favor.
Do you have to be an LLC or S Corp to have a 401k and start investing in your own 401k?
You do not. If you do not have employees, you can start a solo 401k. But again, you have to have no employees. As soon as you start having employees, you can change that. And in my first couple years, I did a solo 1k. Then I changed it to a SEP.
Mm-hmm.
And with this SEP, you have to allow employees to contribute. You do not have to match their contributions.
Okay.
The
Okay.
contributions to the SEP are limited to you to be 25% of your profits. So if
Okay.
you want to put $5,000 into your SEP in 2023, you have to show $20,000 in profits. Contrast that with a solo 401k, you can put in almost $20,000 with no profits. So
Mm.
it's not limited by the profits that you're showing on your tax return or in your P&L, okay? So the answer to which account is right for you is a function of your business income, your profits, but also really your household income, because if your spouse or partner is making enough money to pay the bills, then you can afford to save almost all of your business income for your future, and that may be appropriate for your financial planning.
That's great. And I could see a little bit of confusion, maybe foresight here on, okay, that sounds good, but I don't know where to set one up or how to set that up. What would you say to those people who have no clue what that means or how to get started with that?
Sure. So most custodians are like Fidelity, Vanguard, Wells Fargo, places where you can have investment accounts will allow you to have a 401k, a solo 401k in those places. I believe I use Gusto for payroll and my
Yes.
401k.
Okay. Oh, nice. I didn't know Gusto did the 401k. Gusto.
Mm, yeah.
Perfect.
Uh, so you're looking for low cost. Again, you always want a great portal, but they'll be able to tell you straight away whether they allow solo 401ks or SEPs. A lot of people think SEP stands for self-employment pension. It does not. It's simplified employee pension. It doesn't really matter. It's SEP.
Yeah.
And they can tell you whether they allow those types of accounts. But like Charles Schwab, Vanguard, those would be other places where you can start looking.
You can just go to their website and
Exactly.
yeah,
Oh, type into Google, open a solo 401k.
fantastic. That's so great. Okay, is there anything else, Hillary, that comes to mind that you think would set anyone up for success that's kind of newish in their business, as far as any of this is concerned? Maybe a last word on savings or anything that you think we've missed.
Um, Too many business owners that I see get distracted with the busyness of running a business, and they forget that the whole purpose is to capture the value you're creating for yourself and your family if you have one. So, yes, to having a ramp up phase, maybe in the first 12 months, you're not able to pay yourself or save money, really. But
Mhm.
ultimately, if you want to make plans in your business to have your prices be high enough and your sales be high enough, and I know that's kind of elusive sometimes, so that you can both pay yourself and save something for your future. And saving something on a consistent basis is really the quickest way to those compound returns that I was talking about. And just right in hand with that, and I've kind of alluded to it over this conversation, is until you hire someone as your VP of sales, you are her. You are
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
So, for example, my Mondays and Tuesdays are always full of selling activities, right? So I do that first.
Yeah.
I make sure that that's handled. Otherwise, my North Star is off, right? Because I don't have a VP of sales. I'm it.
Mhm.
And however you set that up for yourself, this kind of thing is going to be the linchpin to, again, when the tax bill comes in, there's money enough to pay it. When you need to pay a bookkeeper $50 a month or $200 a month, it's there, right?
Yes.
It's different in your personal life. It's more about maximizing what you get for what you've got, right? Like keeping your expenses low and saving the rest. In your business, it really is about filling those coffers and always having an eye on return on investment.
Such good advice. Man, this has been amazing. Thank you so much, Hilary,
Yeah, thank
for
you.
pouring out and just helping us really understand these concepts that seem to be so scary, but in reality, I think can be simplified. Where can everybody come and hang out with you and listen to your show and learn more
Yeah.
about what you offer?
Thank you. You can find everything about my business at hendershottwealth.com, but really, you're already in your podcast player. If you have room in your podcast lineup, just come check us out at Love Your Money with Hilary Hendershott.
Amazing. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you.